Welcome to Be the Wellness Podcast, where we help you master your body, mind, and the experience of life through insightful conversation, interviews with experts and thought leaders, all with a side of marital banter and some good old-fashioned humor.
Yes, we are your hosts, Adam and Vanessa Lambert, and we're committed to helping you live life fully expressed physically, mentally, and experientially. Sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and join the conversation.
Welcome, everybody, to Be the Wellness Podcast. Adam and Vanessa Lambert.
Doing the podcast thing.
Yay, on our, 15th rainy day in Los Angeles.
I know, it's been like a regular old rainy runder.
Winter. A rainy runder.
It's been on a runder.
It has. And if you're wondering what a runder is...
It's like a runner.
Yeah.
But with a D.
With a D. Yeah. Mostly like people from Kentucky.
Yeah.
Right?
It's what your dog does when it goes out back.
Yeah.
And it runs around the yard.
Or the neighborhood.
Yes.
If you're out on a runder. It's like a walkabout, but
yes.
like a little more derogatory.
Exactly. A little more redneck.
A little more redneck, yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, yes, we've been on a regular rainy runder.
Rainy runder. And we've been on a runder of other sorts.
We have been on a runder.
Our,
yes.
Life.
Life, man.
Yeah, it's busy.
We're runders.
We're rundering.
I'd say we're runders down under, but we're definitely not down under.
Not down under.
No, that was last week. We were down under with Pete Evans.
That's true.
This week we are up on top,
up over.
Up over.
Yeah, I think it is up. Let's see, so down under would be
over.
up over. Yeah.
Up over,
Yeah, we're definitely up over.
Yeah.
So it begs the question, though. So if Australia is down under, then what is New Zealand? Like a little farther?
Down a side.
Down a side? Yeah.
Down over.
Down over.
It's down over.
Down over in New Zealand, because we're going to be down over soon, too.
We are going to be down over very soon, yeah.
Yeah, it's creeping up.
We actually just bought our airline tickets yesterday.
Our airline tickets.
Our airplane, our airfare.
You can't get train tickets to New Zealand.
No, but anyone out there looking for airline tickets to New Zealand, Air New Zealand's having a great sale, so
yeah,
we booked them yesterday.
Yeah, and they just bought some third-hand planes from Uzbekistan, so we're going to be good.
It should be fine.
It should be fine. What could go wrong? It's only a 13-hour flight.
Exactly. At least it's direct from LA, which is amazing.
It is.
Because down over is actually really far away.
Yeah. It's, it's 19 hours ahead of us, right?
Yeah.
And as far as time zones go?
Tomorrow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's almost as far as it gets.
It is almost as far as it gets, yeah. But luckily for us, there's a direct flight, which makes it 12 hours, which is pretty amazing.
Right.
Given we flew how many hours to Africa? I think it was...
all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was days of them.
It was a lot of flying. Yeah.
So because of the way that we go, the route we go over Hawaii...
Yeah, it's straight.
It's actually kind of straight.
Yeah.
I mean, it's close enough that you can do it in one shot.
Right.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's working out.
So anyway, our New Zealand retreat is sold out, so you can't come with us. But if you're going with anyone else, airline tickets are on sale.
Yeah, this is true.
Yes. So we thought we would take today and just kind of talk a little bit about the new year. Obviously, everybody's ramping up into the new season, the new year, kind of all of those good things. And just talk a little bit about setting New Year's intentions. And, we talk about New Year's resolutions a lot, but I think that Adam and I have gotten into the habit of more setting intentions. And something that I've even more recently taken on is setting sort of a word for the year and just something that you want to maybe more deeply resonate with for the year. Huh. And I think that one of the reasons that I really like this, that I really like not setting New Year's resolutions, but rather intentions, is that resolutions feel like as soon as anything changes or you get off track or, maybe you even opt to decide to do something different, it's like you failed or like you didn't do it right or, you basically, you failed at this thing that you set out to do.
Right.
And so I really like the idea of intentions, because what that does is it rather gives yourself like a framework in which you'd like to operate for the year. So like, I want to set the intention to improve my health this year. It's not, I want to go on a diet and lose 10 pounds. Some people do really well with very specific goals and instructions, and like that helps them to better, stick to what they set out to do. But for me personally, it just feels a lot better to go into it with like an intention overall for the year and what I really want to resonate more deeply in my life with.
Okay. So then let's go over the difference between an intention and a resolution again. Mm-hmm. One is, the resolution you feel like is more specific often and maybe a shorter term strategy, where the intention is global, like 30,000 foot view.
Exactly. Yeah. Intention is more about an energetic shift that I'm looking to make in the year, or maybe not even a shift, but maybe just a deeper relationship with something.
Yeah.
Maybe something that I just want to explore deeper or get in better alignment with or better attunement with. But it's not necessarily like this hard and fast, okay, I'm going to do this 30-day challenge and I'm going to, by February 1st, I'm going to have lost 10 pounds. And, the thing about it is like, I see so many people do these big cleanses and these big things right in the beginning of the year. And, it's fine. Honestly, for some people, it works really well. But I would rather you have an intention or an energetic picture of what you want to create in the year of 2019, rather than basically do your very, very best in January of 2019 and then the rest of the year just fall off the wagon and lose any ground or lose any insights or lose any of that progress that you've made within yourself.
Got it. So the intention is more like a target.
Yes.
For the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Like this year, I'm going to focus on these things.
Yes.
And where you're saying like a resolution might be, I'm going to get more, so here's how I could see this breaking down in most people's minds. So they do probably have an intention. They want to be more fit.
Right.
But instead of setting the intention of being more fit, they say, I'm going to do X program for the next 30 days.
Exactly.
And then when that's over, there's not that sort of overarching intention to guide them on to the next thing.
Yeah, and I just feel like, for some people, it's really helpful to have that sort of hard and fast intention or that hard and fast resolution where it's like, okay, I'm going to quit smoking.
Right.
And it's like, no ifs, ands, or buts. Come New Year's Day, come hell or high water, I'm going to quit smoking. And that's it. And so some people really need that like staunch line in the sand, if you will.
Proverbial sand?
Yes, in the proverbial sand. To like make that happen, to set the date and to really set that bag of rocks down. Like, I'm going to leave this behind. I'm not taking it with me. And that's fine. I think that like in that regard, sometimes having a little bit more of a strict way with yourself could be beneficial.
Yeah.
But if your resolution is, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, and you do everything perfectly in January of 2019, and maybe you even lose those 20 pounds, I don't know, depends on how heavy you are and how you could do that. But whatever, you lose that 20 pounds in January of 2019 because you did everything perfectly, but then you didn't actually instigate any of the real deep changes that will support those new habits that created that weight loss.
Right.
So now February 1st hits and you're like, oh, I was getting up at 6 a.m. and going to the gym, hit the snooze button. I already lost my 20 pounds, so I'm, maybe today I'll sleep in. Or, maybe I'll have that treat just this time. I already lost my 20 pounds, so maybe now I can treat myself. And so basically you're just setting yourself up where you're going to just have all of that progress that you made in the beginning of the year because you had this really strict way of going about it is going to be thwarted by not actually having done. Thank you. I'm like, these words don't go together. Having done the deep changes and the groundwork to like the structure of your life that will support those changes. Yeah. And so that's where I get really, I think it's great to have a blast off and an energetic excitement about getting back into your wellness picture and like getting excited again. And I don't have any problem with people even doing a challenge whatever that looks like is fine. I just really want people to set a deeper intention for what they want to resonate more deeply and to look at the deeper picture there. So it's like, if the things that keep you from, from getting up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. to do your workout are that you have too much stacked on your plate and you can't get to bed until midnight every night, then maybe look at what busyness is in your life. Take a year to look at, like, why is it that I have so much busyness in my life? And is there anything that I can work on in this year around creating more stillness or more space in my life?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, for me, it's just about like a bigger picture of resonance for yourself. And I think that you would, for a lot of people, get further in the course of 5 years if you really took the deep reflective time to set some of the groundwork, so that now, in year 3, when you really do want to like focus on losing that 20 pounds, you're like, cool, I made the space for it. I actually created a format in my life where now I get to bed at a reasonable time. I know the kind of exercises I like doing. I've spent the last couple years trying different things and falling in love with movement and really understanding what my body responds to. Like, resonating more deeply with what it is that's going to create this outcome that you're actually looking to create when you set that New Year's resolution and say, I want to lose 20 pounds.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense.
Because do you want to lose 20 pounds in January of 2019 and then gain it back in February 2019 and then that's your year? That's the story. And then the rest of the year you spend your time going, oh man, I need to get back to that. I did it. Why did I have all that?
January.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And honestly, we see it time and time again. We have many, many people in our world and even friendship circle where it's exactly this. They go, oh, I do a Whole30 in January. And so they do a Whole30 in January, and it's great. Like, don't get me wrong. I think it's great to clean up after the holiday season because there is a lot of extra indulgence and there's a lot of things going on at the end of the year that you do sort of want to clean the slate. But, like, know that that's what you're doing. Don't have that be your one fitness or wellness effort for the year.
Yeah, it's a piece of an overall strategy that leads, somewhere else. So it's kind of like, James Clear talks about this a lot with identity-based goal setting. I'm sure other people do too, but he's the one I'm familiar with. But so if you're, instead of saying, I'm going to get in shape this year, then like, what's the identity around that? Like, you've identified as somebody who wants to get in shape, right? And so his thought process, and I think it's probably pretty good for a lot of folks, is start identifying as, I'm the guy that goes to the gym 3 days a week. I never miss 3 days a week. I'm that guy,
right?
And then that's what you do. You go to the gym 3 days a week and you do this kind of thing. And so if you're setting that sort of identity-based goal, which I think shares a lot in common with sort of the intention idea, is that it leaves room for other improvements and changes along the way that you're still the guy that goes to the gym every day or, 3 days a week or whatever. But now I'm also the guy who, gets a good night's sleep or I'm, so it doesn't, it's like it just leaves room for continued improvement and still headed towards the same target,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. And so I don't know, I think it's funny because in 2019, it's actually the first time that I didn't even have like any real plan in terms of, I want to do this program. Like I love, obviously I'm a student, so I love programs. I love learning. I'm always trying to find new ways of thinking about things and enrolling in different programs and philosophies to get coaching. But this was the first year that I was kind of like, I'm actually just going to set the intention of just being more present with what I already have going. Just already being present with like what I had already started creating in 2018. And instead of adding something new, actually just really falling deeper into resonance with what had already begun in 2018.
Right.
And so for me personally, it was an interesting year because it wasn't about, okay, this year I'm going to do this. It was more about, this year I'm really going to be with what I've already created. There's been so much creation for us with Be the Wellness and just personally in the last few years that it was almost like permission just to have the space around what's already been created.
Yeah.
And I think that that's been really cool because it actually came into the new year feeling way less pressure and way less like scrambling and all of that good stuff. I just kind of felt like, okay, cool. I'm just going to keep on continuing from what has already been in place, really.
Yeah, it's kind of like all the books on your nightstand, right? Like there's you're like, oh, that looks like a good book. You read 5 chapters and you put it on the nightstand, and you're like, oh, that looks like a good book, and you read 3 or 4 chapters and you put it on the nightstand. 2019 is about finishing the chapters.
Yes.
Finishing the books on your nightstand before you add any more.
Are you looking at my 7 books that are sitting next to me on my desk, actually? My quote unquote nightstand. But yes, exactly. That's it, is like, and so I guess for me, the thing about it is, if hard and fast New Year's resolutions work for you and you're that person, and every year you set something out in January and that's the thing that by hell or high water you're going to master that year, and that is the person you are, cool, good on you. Like, roll with what works for you. But I think more often than not, we just see people who start off with a bang and have all this momentum and gumption, honestly, for like a week of January or January in any given year. And then by second and third week, they're already really fading out of whatever that intention was. And I just think that year on year, that becomes just a negative feedback loop, and then now you've just, and every year you think this is the year it's going to be different. I'm actually really committed to it this year. 2019 is going to be the year I actually lose that 20 pounds and I actually stick to this thing. And I just think that, for most people, it just makes a lot more sense to just kind of like be still with what your intention is, what you're gently being cold towards.
Yeah.
Not cold, but cold.
Cold?
Actually cold.
Not cold either.
Cold.
Okay.
Culled.
Yeah, right. There's a lot of words that sound like that. Yeah. Because you call people out. But yeah. So I think, and one of the other things that because you mentioned the idea of people, hitting something and going through it and then being done and then maybe failing. And I think a big part of the reason that happens is they try to do too much at once.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
there's
for sure.
You're like, okay, January, I'm going to be more fit.
Yes.
Or, I'm going to do this thing. And so in order to do that, I'm going all in on a diet and a new exercise plan, and I'm going to change the way that I sleep, and I'm going to, you're trying to do way too many things at once.
Yes.
To be sustainable from just a behavior change perspective.
Right.
And I think that's one of the biggest problems, that we see. And it's, speaking of programs you can do in the new year, it's a large part of what we do is try to help chunk things out for people and make it, small manageable tasks that next thing you know, you've just changed the way you do business.
You just are different.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're just working your way through it. And so like my 2 cents on this is that, you can do pretty much whatever you want. It's just a matter of how much you want it and how much you're really willing to go about it. There are certainly things that we just know from our experience, and I think most people know deep within themselves, that it's too big of a change all at once. It's too much all at once. And so if you are one of these people who likes to jump in a challenge or likes to chunk this stuff out, my suggestion would be to set an intention, like Vanessa's saying, and then come up with a plan for how you're going to do it. All right, I'm going to do this thing, and then I'm going to do this thing, and then I'm going to do this thing, and these are the steps. Like, do it intentionally. Don't just... I'm going to try this. And then, because there's just, it's so hard to commit to changes anyway. Like it's the one thing that's constant, but it's the one thing that we just fight tooth and nail, And so if you can come up with a way to chunk it out and do this piece, this piece, this piece, and then just trust that, those pieces are going to all add up to change over time, then you're good. Like we want to avoid that, like, it's like the checkout aisle at TJ Maxx, You know what I mean? Like New Year's is the entry to that checkout aisle at TJ Maxx, and there's just shiny shit everywhere. And it's stuff that you didn't even know existed. Like they might as well be like an as seen on TV aisle of stuff. You're like, look at that, an umbrella for a dog. Like, how does it even carry it? You know, that's awesome. I'm going to grab that thing, you know? No intentionality whatsoever. These are not even things that you ever thought of. It's just that you're in line to buy stuff. And so buying stuff is on your mind and you're standing there waiting for the next checker. So you just buy more shit, you know, and you just add additional stuff. And I think our like fitness journey can look like that sometimes, you know, you're like, okay, I'm supposed to be doing the next thing. What's the next thing? Oh, here it is. You know, I'm going to grab this and, you know, probably doesn't work. You know, it's like it's a freaking dog umbrella. Like, who's gonna hold it? You know, but you don't care. You just like bought it in the moment. You know,
right?
So I think that there's this real tendency to that sort of decision making when it comes to making these long term life changes and really getting your shit together and like squaring away your health or whatever it is you're working on. That the shiny object syndrome is pretty easy. You know, it's pretty easy to grab hold of. There's also a lot of narrative around it not working. You know what I mean? Like, ask anybody about, hey, what'd you do last year for New Year's? Oh, I did this, you know, this crazy thing, and I did whatever, and I lost 5 pounds, and man, it was really hard. I had to do all of this stuff, and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, well, what's the outcome now? You know, 6 months later, you're like, oh, well, I put all the weight back on, and I tried that, and it didn't work. Well, so now you've probably thrown out an entire idea, you know, which if it was a dog umbrella, like, fine. Probably get rid of that one, you know, but there's a lot of good stuff in there, you know, so anyway.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. You're just saying that sometimes, like, consistent failure, when you have a failure on failure, oftentimes you just assume, well, oh, that program didn't work or that system didn't work, when really, you know, it wasn't that the system didn't work. It's that you just didn't take the real time to create the system and to create the foundation of support to help these new habits flourish. Yeah. You know, it's like farmers till the land, right? To get it ready for the seeds. Like they prepare the soil so that when the seeds are planted, like the most nutrients are available, the seeds have the best chance of surviving. I have really no idea if this is correct because I've never really planted that much in my life, but I think I'm onto something here.
I don't know. I've got a competing theory with that. So farming is fundamentally a seasonal job, right?
Okay.
So these guys are like, what are they doing the rest of the time? They're like, man, we should probably look busy. You know what I mean? Let's go over here and
dig up this dirt.
You know, let's design a tractor. You know, that sounds cool. And we could go out here and just drag something around to till up the dirt all day. No?
I'm not sure. But just go with my metaphor.
You're actually 100% right. I have done some dirt farming in my life, and that's exactly what goes on.
Well, and the point is that, you know, just creating that space, creating that platform for things to flourish, I think that, if anything, is a great thing to focus on in the beginning of the year, is just like, how can I prime myself the best for success this year? And how can I create whatever the big low-hanging fruit is, you know, if it's lack of sleep or if it's lack of time or whatever it is. You know, I was just talking with a client in Authentic Self, and she was talking about being overwhelmed and not having enough time to get everything done. And so, you know, I mentioned to her, like, what if you created life in a way where you did have time? And what does that even look like? And I think people have forgotten what that looks like because, you know, it's Christmas and I have to put the Christmas decorations away because Christmas is over. So I have to do that. There's not any space for people to navigate in that way, right? They think, well, no, Christmas is over. The decorations have to go away. I have to do that now. That time and that space is occupied by this project. But what if you zoom out and you say, well, what if the Christmas decorations get put away in a course of 2 weeks or 3 weeks? What if actually you didn't create this construct in the way where they have to get put away now means you don't have enough time?
Right.
But if you suddenly said, well, what would it really hurt? Like, what would someone lose their birthday if it took me 3 whole weeks to put the Christmas decorations away?
Right.
No. And then all of a sudden I'd have more time. There's so many things in our life that we create in a way that doesn't actually need to be created in the sense that gives us, you know, this stressful, out of time feeling. And we actually have more authority over our space than we give ourselves permission because we allow all the context of how it should be to weigh in rather than, okay, well, what if I actually did create it differently? Like, what would that mean? What if I actually, you know, didn't work out for the first month of January, but instead took extra time to sleep in and really just get my circadian rhythm anchored in. Like, why is it that we are so set on creating our lives in a way where it feels like we don't have enough time and space?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Actually,
I think it's a tendency, though.
I have a few ideas.
I'm sure you do.
It's habit. Part of it is
Yeah.
habit, right? We've gotten into the habit of staying busy. And do not be confused about this, people. Becoming busy can be just as much of a habit as anything else.
Oh, for sure.
And people will they will bend over backwards to argue about that point and say, well, no, I have to get all this stuff done. But as soon as they have one little gap of space where they wouldn't actually have to do anything, guess what they do?
They fill it up.
They fill it right up.
Yeah.
Good. I've been waiting to add another thing to my
Yeah.
list of things to do.
Right.
And so I just think that, we do have the power to create our lives in a way that gives us more time and space a lot of times, but we just can't see it. We're so blind to that's a possibility. And so I think that it's really a good time to consider how you're creating your year and how you're creating your time.
Yeah. No, that's a good idea. So, I have a funny story about being busy. So when I was a brand new firefighter, I worked at headquarters, right? And so headquarters is like where all the chiefs are. It's where everybody is, right? And so as a brand spanking new firefighter, the last thing you want to ever appear to be is not busy.
Right. I'm quite familiar.
Yeah,
yes.
you're familiar, And at the end of the day, there's a lot to be done, but then they're like, when you're brand new, you're not allowed to do a lot of it, you know?
Right.
So there's like all of this, you're looking around, you're like, oh man, does that need to be done? Am I allowed to do this? Am I allowed to do whatever? And the senior fireman that I got teamed up with right out the gate was a guy named Mike Maynard, who I've never talked about on the podcast before, but we were great friends. And he came from the Air Force, right? And so in the military, there's a lot of this hurry up and wait kind of stuff too, in the appearance of being busy.
Right.
And he called it the headquarters walk. And he's like, basically all you have to do, he's like, do your work, and
Right.
be busy, but like do the things you need to do. He's like, but if ever, and especially when you need to go from like building to building, this big compound, he's like, carry something and walk with purpose. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. He's like, you could have a screwdriver in your hand, and if you walk like you're going somewhere to do something, nobody's going to mess with you, So he called it the headquarters walk. And ever since then, dude, I just cracked up and then like, through 20 years of this or whatever, I'd sit in my office as a chief and look out across the compound and look at all the firefighters doing the headquarters walk, and they're like all just super random stuff. Like one guy's got a screwdriver, the other one's got a back pump. You're like, what are they going to do? Like they're just walking from point A to point B, appearing to be busy, And that, like, sadly, as you were alluding to, translates into the rest of your life.
Yes.
It's like pretty soon you're at home and you're like, I guess I should carry a spatula around or something, You just like, gotta have something to do, because it's a mindset, it's a habit. And once you're used to being busy, especially under some level of pressure, which all of us have, whatever job you're in, if you work for somebody, there's probably some level of expectation that you be doing something with your time.
Right.
And that bleeds over into everything. It's part of the reason I think that TV is such a thing, because watching TV is a thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm busy. I'm watching TV.
I'm doing something.
Yeah.
I'm engaging with something. Absolutely. Yeah. I think that, so many of us, and, there's this whole story around being lazy, right? So if you're not doing anything, there are a lot of people who will look at you and say, you're lazy.
Right.
Including probably your parents when you were a kid and you didn't want to do anything and they told you were lazy. Because maybe you were a little lazy, but by nature, humans want space. They want downtime. They want just time to be. And it's typically been socialized out of us or embarrassed out of us or whatever, to the point where we've lost contact with wanting that stillness and wanting that space. And I think within that space is where creativity can come.
Oh, it's the only place that creativity shows up.
Absolutely.
Right?
And so like you're creating that bedrock of creativity in your life. And so for people who think, well, I'm not a creative person, or I'm not, creativity isn't like an important thing to me. Well, maybe you just haven't given yourself the space to have that as part of your life, because we are, as humans, creators. That is our one and only purpose, is to create. Like, that is actually who you are.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny if you think you're not creative, because it's actually the one thing you absolutely are, is a creator. It's just that you're creating things that you don't think of as being creative. And so it's just interesting to consider, like, you've got to give yourself, space and time and just this buffer zone of freeness in order to start creating the world resonating, or setting that intention of, like, the world you want to resonate with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cultivating creativity.
Cultivating creativity
is actually a passive thing.
I'm pretty much focused on cultivating a cult.
Getting close.
I'm getting really close.
Yeah, we're getting close. I think we need like 4 more people.
Adam and I were at a party recently, and this guy had a shirt that said "Join my cult."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh man, can we make those for Be the Wellness?"
Yeah. What was that though? Was it?
He was a DJ.
He was
I think.
a DJ.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was a DJ. But anyway, so
cultivating a cult.
Cultivating a cult.
Yeah,
but,
creatively cultivating a cult with intention.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what we're doing over here, people.
Exactly.
That's
but I really just wanted to take this time in the new year to kind of, I don't know, especially we'll be almost 2 weeks into the year now. So a lot of that New Year's jazz and like excitement and momentum is already starting to get, I don't want to say thwarted, but I want to say, the pressure of life is already starting to push back against it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are already starting to have doubts about their ability to fulfill on the commitment they set out to fulfill on. And you may just like white knuckle it through and make it through this first month. And you may just completely blast off of blast through the intention you set for this month. But I think a deeper experience and more profound experience for the year could be in really like resonating with what it is you want to embody this year.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to drill in a little bit on this though, because I think it's easy for it to, I think I get what you're saying, but I think it's easy to sort of just be like, all right, potato.
Potato, tomato.
Potato, tomato. different things.
Totally different things.
Whoa, what was that from?
Someone said potato, tomato, and the person said tomato, tomato.
Yeah.
And he's like, basically, he messed it up.
Right,
it wasn't the right
but
comparison.
It was a TV show or something.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I was like, who said that? Somebody funny. Okay. So let's just talk about this in practical terms, and maybe you kind of already gave your example, but maybe we could just give another example of what you think the difference is between setting an intention for the year and a New Year's resolution. So let's just pick a new example of why an intention is different. An
intention is about a vibration. It's about a frequency that you would like to resonate deeper with during this next year.
Okay, so let's have an example of that.
So I think one for me that just really rings true is just cultivating stillness.
Yeah.
So actually creating space, cultivating stillness, like creating, again, like the reference I was making earlier about having the land primed so that whatever you plant in, whatever seeds you plant can grow and be nourished and can actually flourish. And so for me, a big part of this year is just being in the stillness of that. And again, a lot of that is because there's already so much coming from the prior years that I don't feel like I necessarily need to add a bunch more to my plate. And I would actually argue that probably most of you out there don't either. A lot of you probably already have so many things that are coming from the last year and the year before, intentions and things that you already had set out to create, that maybe it's just about this year making more space for those things. Removing things,
yeah.
Sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so the intention is more about a universal picture of what you want your world to look like in 2019 and what you want to vibrate with, where an intention or a New Year's resolution is really about a hard stop. It's like, I'm going to do this as of January 1st, and moving forward, this is the way it is, and I'm not going to do it any other way. And and that might work for you.
Right.
It might be fine. And I totally am cool with the people that they're like, no, I know that I need those like hard pressures. I do better with like the hard pressure of things. And so if the new year creates that pressure cooker for you to now, cultivate that next action, then that's cool. I'm not talking to the people where that's working for you. I'm talking to the people who've done that year on year and it hasn't worked.
Right. Well, so maybe it's both, right? So if you kind of shift the way that it looks, so using the stillness example. So if you're going to cultivate stillness, right? So the first thing to do is identify what that means for you, right? So if you are a person who likes short-term hard goals or whatever, you can say, okay, well, I'm going to figure out what that is and write it down. There's one goal reached, and it still meets the same intention. And then it's going about figuring out how exactly you're going to cultivate that stillness. So is that a meditation? Is that a sleeping with the windows closed so you don't hear the sirens at night? Is that, right? So you can kind of chunk out, once you've identified what the thing is, chunk out these sort of short measurables that can keep you on the path to getting there.
Totally.
So I guess it could work for both people, right?
Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Hey, something for everybody over here at Be the Wellness Podcast.
Especially you.
Especially
you, the listener.
The listener.
You know who you are because you're listening.
Yeah, I'm gonna text you shortly.
Yeah,
so that's cool.
That was really cool. I actually really love just, kind of talking about these things in the beginning of the year because people people in general, we tend to set these things up, set ourselves up to be disappointed in ourselves or to feel like we failed or to feel, just like we're unable to follow through on our commitments. And I just really want to like infuse more warmth and care and gentleness into your world or into your worldview at this particular time because it's really easy, especially it's the middle of winter. We're probably all 5 or 10 pounds heavier than we were before the holidays. So like everything is kind of conspiring against you for you to just feel bad about yourself right now.
Oh man, I'm actually down 3 pounds today.
I know I'm down too, but let's not talk about that. We're talking about the listeners.
What the hell is going on?
You assholes at Be the Wellness, shut up.
Standing around losing weight. What's going on?
It's because we created a bedrock in which we can lose weight easily.
A bedrock. We cultivated weight loss soil.
Exactly. We'll have it for sale on the website soon.
Yeah.
But the point is, we've all just gone through the holidays. Everyone's tired. A lot of us are exhausted. I don't know if anyone partied on New Year's Eve.
Right.
I don't know,
or the day before.
Or the day before, or the week before, or all the weeks before. Like, there's just all of this stuff that is conspiring. And then it's like, okay, ready, go. Be perfect, because it's New Year's. And now this next month, you have to be perfect and awesome. And it's like, well, yeah, but you just spent the last month, probably in one of the most stressful times of your year, eating foods that didn't necessarily support, like, your mental aptitude, like all this stuff that came into the first of the year, and then now you want yourself to be more strict than ever. And it just, I don't know, it just a lot of times tends to leave people feeling a little depressed and a little I guess, disengaged with themselves right in the beginning of the year. And I don't want that to happen to you.
Yeah. No, that's legit. That's a legit want for folks.
Yes.
I like it.
Yes.
What else?
I mean, that's a really perfect rant for me for today. I feel like I just got that all out.
Got that one out.
I really wanted to share that one because, we've been having a lot of talk we actually ask in Unveil Your Wellness if you have any New Year's resolutions. And it's great. I love if people do. I just want people to have this sort of global perspective about the year coming up rather than what are you going to do in January?
Right.
That is going to be this all-encompassing thing that changes your life. Because what if it doesn't?
Well, yeah. Yeah, what if it doesn't? Yeah, that's good. Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. What if it
I have
doesn't
to
change?
wait for another January
A
to
whole
come
nother
around.
January to come around. Well,
Yes.
this is one of the upsides. It's sort of the hidden upside to Burning Man is you get 2 New Years. You get one at Burning Man and one like when the year changes.
It's true.
Which is handy. And then I guess you could just jump on board with the Chinese New Year.
Dude,
And you just have 3 of them.
I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Which,
So,
by the way, what is the Chinese New Year? I keep wanting to look it up.
I believe we just went over this. It's the year of the pig.
It is actually
Rooster, dog, pig.
Chinese New Year. I'm looking it up now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because last year was the year of the dog. My little brother's baby boy was born, and he was a dog.
Oh, no.
No?
You're the pig.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah, that's
saying.
what you said.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. You're the pig. Oh, your nephew's a pig. Or
No,
a dog.
it's a dog.
Oh,
Yeah.
you love dogs.
I know. What's not to love? So
You
it
love
goes.
pigs too, actually.
I know. I'm a barnyard
Dweller.
dweller. Roosters, though.
Oh.
I don't know any roosters. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but whatever.
Yeah.
It all works out. So one of the other things, now that you're done with your rant,
Okay.
one of the other things that I think, and it's we tend to talk a lot about people having compassion for themselves in these journeys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's hard and it's easy to beat yourself up, and you didn't get the way you are today in 30 days, and you're not going to get probably where you want to be in 30 days, right? And so we do talk about that a lot. We talk about, hey, have some compassion for yourself. This is a process. You're gonna fall off the wagon. You're gonna get back on the wagon. And all of this kind of stuff. And it's true. Like all of those things are true. But people are also capable of a lot more than they give themselves credit for a lot of times.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that is something I want to make sure if I'm setting an intention for the year for myself and then also for our clients and the people that I interact with is to help support them and reassure them, myself included, that you're capable of this.
Yes.
Like you can do so much more than you give yourself credit for. And yeah, is it hard? Probably. Is it complex? Are there things to be figured out? Yes. All of those things are true. But you can do it. Mm-hmm. It's within you to be able to sort this shit and make it right,
Absolutely.
And just like you were saying earlier, how we're creators. I mean, a lot of times the things that we create are problems because we're also problem solvers.
Right.
It's like, look at monkeys. You give them a bunch of stuff to do, and they're going to try to figure it out. We like to put puzzles together, and we like to figure out where the pieces fit, and we like to do all that. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be solving problems no matter what. So just make sure you're solving the ones that you actually want to be solving, or that are actually leading you toward achieving whatever your goals are, or whatever this intention that you're setting for the year. Because while you can do anything, you probably can't do everything at once, but you're so capable of getting this stuff done. It's remove the problems that don't need to be solved or that you're not interested in solving, and really dive into the ones that you are interested in solving and give it 100% of your attention.
Right.
Because then the sky's the limit,
Right.
with what you can achieve or do or be,
Absolutely. And so maybe that means that you're resonating or you're setting an intention to really be dedicated to the things that you want to honor and that you want to be disciplined about. And I think that it feeds perfectly into it. I think what this is really about is clearing out the chaos and making space for that which will really fulfill you, that will really create the life and the abundance and the physicality or whatever it is that you want to create in this year. And so I think that, that's spot on, is that you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it.
You just who used to say that? What was that?
You can do it. I don't
was
know.
that like a Adam Sandler movie or something?
Oh,
Probably.
It might actually be
it was
Adam
one of those.
Yeah.
But the Nike slogan, "Just do it," and "You can do it," like those, just do it, and then you need the little guy saying, "You can do it."
You can do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And they're both right.
They're both right. Yeah. Totally. So we wish you guys such a successful and abundant and blissed out 2019.
Yep.
I think for a lot of people, it's kind of a mixed bag. 2018 was either off the charts epic or a real twister for some people.
Yeah.
And so I think that regardless of what happened to you in 2018, like the beautiful thing about a new year is that it is a fresh start. And I think that that's where a lot of this energy of new commitment and creation comes into play, is that people do recognize energetically that there's a shift and there's a new beginning. And so people do want to resonate and be in alignment with, like, I have a fresh start. I have a new chance. I have a clean slate. No matter what happened before, I have this opportunity now to move forward without dragging along any of the things from the past. Just make sure you really do that.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's really about. That's really the beauty of that, the change of the year and the cycle, is that you really do have a chance to create from a place of your highest self and your highest possibility. So just make sure you do that.
Yeah, totally. And I've got a special thing going.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So one of the things, since we're talking resolutions, and for a lot of people, that revolves around fat loss.
Right.
There's a link at the bottom of the show notes. Go down there and click on that link, drop your email in there, and I will send you some incredible infographics that talk specifically about why that can be hard to do. So there's one that's called The Cost of Getting Lean, which talks about at various levels of leanness, what it actually takes to achieve that.
Oh, yes.
So if you're looking at fitness models or Instagram models and you're like, oh man, one of these days, you just don't have any idea what it takes to get to that level and maintain that, you know? And so this infographic does a fantastic job of explaining, like, okay, you want to look like this? Well, here's what it takes in order to do that, right?
Yes.
So there's that piece, which I think is super helpful just for like, oh, yeah, I kind of always thought I wanted abs year round, but Jesus, you know, it hasn't happened so far, and this is what it takes, and I'm not really into it, you know?
Right.
And then there's another one in there talking about calories in and calories out, because this is another thing that always comes up. Why is it that calorie counting just doesn't work for some people, right? And why is it that when I go to the gym and I run on my elliptical and it says I burned 500 calories and I'm tracking my calories in and I'm doing everything in my fitness pal and I'm logging all of this stuff and I'm showing a deficit and all this, why is it still not working? The answer is that it's really inaccurate. It's very, very inaccurate to track this stuff. So 2 super cool infographics that talk about that. And then one that talks about how to partition your plate, how to build your plate based on your hand sizes, right? So this is how we do macronutrient splits for folks. It's like this is our
build your plate
why
challenge.
is it?
This is what it's built around.
What it's based around. Yeah, exactly. And so why does that work? How is it that can be, you know, legit and work for you? Well, it's because there's this massive error in actual calorie counting. So if you're a visual learner and you like pretty pictures, check it out.
Yeah.
Drop your email. I'll send you this stuff. You can pull them up on your screen and go,
that's why.
Now this all makes sense.
I can't do it.
Oh, man. Well, or I don't want to.
I'm just kidding.
You know, and get into that spot. So, I mean, because we really are dedicated to helping people sort this stuff for themselves.
Yeah.
And we can talk about it all day long, and we can write articles about it all day long. We can even watch videos about it. But there's just something about an infographic. It just seems legit.
Yes.
You know, it's like, oh, okay, here's a way.
If you're a visual learner, it really is like, it just makes sense.
This is what's up.
Yeah.
So scroll down there, click the link. I'll send it to you.
Awesome.
And we'll go from there.
Awesome. Love it. Giving away cool shit left and right.
Hey, man. If you got cool stuff, give it away.
Give it away.
Yeah. Or sell it on eBay.
It's actually a big intention for me this year. And I think coming back from Rhythmia a few months ago, it was a big realization. Like, I want to give more stuff away. I want to give away more money. I want to give more away.
I've got a couch I'd like to give away.
Yes, if anyone lives in Venice, wants a nice brown leather couch, let us know. But I do think that there's so much value in giving things away and sharing what you have to share. And it makes you feel more abundant when you give more.
Yeah,
it really does.
Yeah.
So anyhow, thanks so much for allowing us to rant. We love to share with you all of our thoughts. And it's so nice that you allow us to do that. But really knowing that, our hearts are in the place of wanting the biggest success for you guys and really wanting to make a difference in our community, in our world, helping people to fall in love with themselves more and to really understand what it takes and how to create the life that they want to create, and not just being victim to the same repetitive motions that they've been, creating in their life year on year. And that's where we're really excited for a new year to begin, a new cycle, and new opportunity for us to all discover ourselves in a more deep and more enriching way than ever before.
Bam.
Yes.
That's it.
That's it. We love you. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye. And I don't